Well, first, we're really pleased to have you with the Farm Tech Society. Maybe I should introduce myself as well. I'm Andrew Bloom. I'm a board member of the Farm Tech Society. But tell us a bit about yourself and your company, ALPS.
Sure. Thank you. And I can say it's a pleasure to be on this phone call. When we learned about the society, we looked into it, and of course we saw some familiar names, especially from some of our Dutch friends and partners. So to be in such esteemed company is a privilege and an honor. Thank you. Myself, I have a very diverse background. In particular, I became attracted to horticulture when I was a state licensed so-called caregiver for medical cannabis users in Portland, Oregon. I had a professional white collar job and a life and all of that sort of thing. And I was introduced to the very first state licensed grower and the very first state licensed patient in the United States. That was Damon Yosefi and his wife. So I grew cannabis for people who had a very, very serious medical need. I did that for 5 years. I changed my life. I decided to go into healthcare. I ended up, as some people do, I accidentally ended up in the mountains of Northern California in a very small town called Garberville, where I switched into more mass scale outdoor organic farming, fruits, vegetables, and certain herbs. I had a change of heart after doing that for 5 years. I decided to come to Canada to pursue an education in Chinese medicine, and I obtained my diploma in that, took my national boards, and I met a very special individual on an airplane ride, returning from taking my boards. I was invited to become employee number 6 of Aurora Cannabis. I started as a contractor, and during that time, because of my background in healthcare and also agriculture, I helped them establish their initial cultivation SOPs. I helped establish our nutrient program, our irrigation system design, and so on. I was the facility director of Aurora Cannabis for 37 months. I started up our indoor-only facility. It's about an acre in size. Then I graduated to working on our Aurora's large greenhouse, the 800,000 square foot greenhouse on the Edmonton International airport property. Along the way there, I met Thomas Larson. I knew that greenhouses were the future as well as the present of producing food, and I suspected for cannabis, they made a lot of sense. So I met Thomas Larson in 2016 and fell into a working relationship and a fellowship and friendship with him. And I really began seriously looking into controlled environment agriculture and greenhouses. So where is ALPS today? Of course, Thomas was a sole proprietor. He produced for many, many years work for strictly food crops ornamentals. Then cannabis became an opportunity for him about 7 years ago. So we began doing designs for licensed facilities. The CEO of Aurora Cannabis, Terry Booth, and Thomas were introduced, and it made sense to integrate Thomas into Aurora's strategy at the time. So ALPS had one client, that was Aurora. We dropped our other work with other crops and other cannabis crops today. And we are no longer with Aurora. That's been the case since May 2011. And our focus is cannabis. So we have one cannabis website. Other crops, that's our larsongc.com website. And we have a new company called APIS, where we are working on integrating compliance solutions for clients. And you had mentioned COVID earlier when we were discussing. For us, the opportunity of COVID is now the world sees that it's ever more important to have local for local, which typically means greenhouses. And around that, consumers are demanding clean produce, clean cannabis. They want to have an assurance of a vetted supply chain. They want to make sure that what the label claims is what's in there without anything else. So where ALPS is at is we're going back to old roots, but we're also developing and growing into a future where we're trying to make life better for everybody. Yeah.